In today's episode, I'm taking you behind the bench and we're going to be featuring and demonstrating to you on how beadwork is not only created originally, but also in restoration. And by doing so, we're also going to show you the tools that it takes to do that and the expertise that is required to bring you such an exacting skills. So let's get started, and I'm going to show you those tools in just a moment. First, let's look at the genuine antique estate piece that we're going to be working with today. As you can see, the diamonds are set in a row along here. Now, it's not a channel. This would have been an original flat plate of gold, and from it, drilled out individually for the different size diamonds are the holes that it will take to put the diamonds down in there. Now, what holds them in, as you can see, are these little beads, and that's exactly what they're called, little beads of gold. Those beads of gold are what we're going to show you today, how they're created, what tools it takes to create those, and what it takes to restore one that has been worn from time. Okay, so I've picked out two of the different beading tools, and that's how we refer to them as, to show you the differences in sizes. Now, they get even a lot smaller, they get even a lot bigger. But one thing I want to show you in these two pieces is the fact that one of them is quite abraded and the metal is beat up and nicked away around the edge. That is a casualty of when you're actually using that tool and bumping it up against the diamond. Of course, we know diamonds are harder than anything else, and it will actually do a little bit of damage to the edge of that each time it's used. Luckily, it's just not a tool that you throw away. These kind of tools are made out of a special hardened steel, and there's a technique used to actually recreating and sharpening that beading tool so that it can be used again. We're going to show you the tool that is used for that. With the beading tool Sharpener, it's a series of little pegs with a hardened steel, and they correspond to the different size of the beading tools. So what you want to do is find the size that corresponds to the tool. You would place it over the little hardened steel point there, and then sometimes you have to anneal and soften the steel. Other times it's still all right to use it as it is. And with another mallet or a metal hammer, you go softly, because the steel being hardened, it can just simply split. With a series of carefully placed taps, looking at it repeatedly to see if we have created the edge that we want. Then when we see that we have a nice sharp edge to the end of the tool, then we know we have done the job correctly. Then the metal is often heat quenched to be able to harden it back up if it has been annealed or softened. So there's quite the process. Remember, jewelers and goldsmiths often have to have a level not only of chemistry, but of metallurgy as well in many of the different techniques that are used at the bench. It is all these factors taken into account over time that give a master goldsmith and a master jeweler the ability to do pretty much anything required at the bench, and also fix other jewelers' less skilled mistakes at times. Let's call them that, because we all learn through mistakes, don't we? All right, so we showed you the tool, we showed you what it takes to harden and sharpen the tool when needed. Now, let's go and show you what that tool exactly is used for. I've selected the tool I want to use. I have chucked it up in this neat little tool for such uses, and I have located two of the prongs to the outside of the ring where they get the most wear, of course. And it looks like they could use what is rebeading it. In other words, to bring those prongs up to a little bit more rounded of a look and freshens them up. It also pretty much will thicken the prong by doing so as well. So it restores it to an original look. And that in itself, by using this tool, many things can go wrong. Slipping is one of them. Either you jab yourself, chip the stone, or chip a diamond. Any one of those three is painful. So let me get to work and we'll show you exactly how it's going to look when it's done. So what we do is we place the inverted instrument, beading tool as it is, over the prong that we want to change the shape of or to thicken the metal of. And by doing that, we then, through pressure and slowly rotating the tool, we are actually causing that metal to form a bead, so to speak, within that inverted cup, that inverted tip of this tool. At the same time, by doing that, it causes the metal to actually build into that cup and thicken over the top edge of the diamond. And we are working right at the edge of the diamond, so by doing that, it causes the metal to push itself over further across the top of the stone as well, again strengthening and tightening the stone. Now, I'm looking at what I've done and very close to completing what I want the look to be. So I'm looking to see if I have the tool placement in the correct spot to be able to create the bead and the shape that I want. The one is just about right, and the other one just about as well. Just a few more, but remember, that's often the case where at some point, leave well enough alone. Perfection is something that often is not attainable. So with what we had to work with, I think we have achieved the goal. Let's take a closer look at it and see if you don't notice a difference. What you're looking for are basically a tool mark, a little edge where the beading tool will have created what would look like a scalloped portion, and then further at the end of the tip where you can see additional metal has been flattened over the stone. And for the location of those particular prongs, that is a correct look for where it is. Other places you want a little bit different or rounded of a look, but starting with the way they were done originally, we are only adding to that look so that it maintains an original design intended for that particular prong. We've just made sure that there's another 50 years left of wear and tear available for that diamond to enjoy right where it's sitting. And it is sitting in a very happy place now, as well as the rest of the piece looking in fantastic shape. I'll go back over some of the others, brighten and round it up, but from that point, because the beading tool is a burnisher also, and a lot of you know that burnishing is basically an act that will polish something. If you burnish something, you're polishing or pre-polishing it. So there is usually no other polishing needed. So by using that tool, the act of itself, by doing that, it's called burnishing as well. It puts its own polish on the prong. Oftentimes you just want to make sure it's not rough, and the piece is done. In the end, if you're doing a total refurbish, then a little bit of polishing on the ring, rhodium plating, and the ring is just like it came off of the goldsmith's bench 60 years ago. So I hope you've learned something. I hope you have understand the complexities to something that when you hear micro pave or bead setting, now you have a much better appreciation for not only the tools, but the education, the talent, the experience, and a little bit of elbow grease as well is what it takes to bring that to you done the right way.